So, do you want to be a leader in your business and life? There is a formula for your success. On this next episode of La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living, my guest dissects her formula, her secret sauce on really owning your greatness, owning your power when it comes to being a woman in your business and life. So, you want to stay tuned.
Frankie Lee, dimmi, quale senso della vita?
The meaning of life is to live la dolce vita, which is the formula for fabulous living.
Hi, my name is Heather Picken, and welcome to the La Dolce Vita Show, the formula for fabulous living. I'm the catalyst in helping you to be more confident, create your dream business, and attract elite clients and live a fabulous life. Here's Heather helping you to upgrade your life to
Fabulous. Upgrade your life to fabulous. Right, Frankie? You're fabulous.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living. There is a formula for your business and success, and I love interviewing guests all around the world that have the secret sauce. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you my guest, Lolly Daskal, and she's going to be sharing her formula about being a leader in your business and life. So I'm excited about that. And she has a new book that's out. So Lolly, thank you so much for being my guest today.
I'm very honored to be here.
And I always like to, before we go into the topic, talking about leadership and how to really do that, especially being a woman and feeling empowered, can you share with our viewers and listeners a little bit about you and your work?
So I've been a leadership coach and business consultant for over 3 decades, and my coaching is based on philosophy and science that I actually created myself from my mentors over 30 years ago. It's different than any other coach, but I found that it creates sustainability for me and my business.
I love that. And we actually share a lot of the same thinking about, helping people or businesses and leaders to really, understand what it takes to be a leader. I don't think a lot of times people understand, some of the key points. And so I think let's start there, especially as it applies to women, because I have a lot of women that watch this show and they're trying to be a leader in their business. And so I always like to start with sometimes like the mistakes. So what do you find that a lot of women leaders are doing in their business, in their lives to create chaos and not more of a balanced perspective?
So I'd like to start with what is leadership first, because I think it's important to identify. So what is a leader? A leader is that if you are influencing, if you are impacting, if you are making a difference in someone's life, you are a leader. You don't need to have a title and you don't need to have that position. So it could be a mom, it could be a businesswoman, it could be a coach, it could be any single, if you coach sports, whatever you do, you are a leader. Now, the question is, what do we get stuck with when we talk about leadership? Most people walk around saying, I'm not a leader, I can't do this, I'm not qualified to be a leader. And the truth is that we have to first choose who we are in order to own that. Meaning, you can be anything you want in the world. And I always say this to everyone that I coach. I say, you can choose at any given moment to choose your greatness, right? You just have to take responsibility for it. So if someone is finding that they're not reaching their potential, most likely they're leading from the gaps. Most likely they're allowing their weaknesses to take over their strengths. And sometimes that can cost them in their greatness and in their potential of what they want to do.
I love that. So really leading from your strengths and really owning your power, because I think a lot of times what happens is women really diminish who they are and they tell themselves, oh, who am I to do that? But what you're saying is, know who you are, know what your strengths are, and come from a leader from that place so that you're really authentic in how you're communicating with people.
So two things I want to grow on what you just said. First of all, my company's called Lead From Within. And the reason I named it Lead From Within is because we have to take responsibility for who we are from within and then lead from that example. Not only should we own our strengths, but I believe we have to own our weaknesses, because what we don't own owns us. And we are a human being, right? We are perfect and we're imperfect, and we have strengths and we have weaknesses. And in order to be the best potential of who we can be, we have to own all of it, because we want to be a whole person, right? So we can't say, I'm not going to own my weaknesses, I'm only going to live from my strength. What happens to the weaknesses? They're still there. So I teach you in my new book, The Leadership Gap, What Gets Between You and Your Greatness, how to leverage your weaknesses in order to make it count, in order to take you to where you want to go.
I love that. And, it's kind of like, with my business, I delegate things where, it's not my strong suit, like having my team, having people that are, organizing my finances, because if I didn't, my business would fail. Do you find that, especially women in the leadership role, that they want to take on everything themselves and try to manage it all?
Right. So that's not even a gender. I find that in men too, is that very smart individuals think they have to know everything. And I always tell my clients, think of the example of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was very capable of doing many things, but what did he do? He surrounded himself with A+ players. He surrounded himself with people that can do the job for him, and he didn't have to do everything. And even though he was someone who wanted his hands and ears and eyes on everything, he allowed those who were very qualified to do their job. So we have to take that as a lesson into our own selves. We are only one person, but if we surround ourselves with great people, we're even better than we could be by ourselves.
It's so true. And let's talk a little bit about your new book that you have. What was your inspiration for writing that?
So interestingly enough, the work that's in the book is actually something that I have been doing over 3 decades with my clients. The great thing about this system, it's a rethink system, that it not only gives you a leadership mastery, but it gives you a life mastery. You can apply this system to everything that you do. And I want to talk about what makes this so different. Number one is that I read a book a day. And I read books on leadership and I read books on business. And I found that most of those books will tell us how to do things, when to do things, where to do things, and even why. What was missing in all of those books was who. They weren't talking about who we were being. And I found that to be a big void out there, because let's say I want to tell you how to make the next $1 million, right? I've coached many people to be successful. But if who you are is not ready, then all the hows and what and whens are not going to matter to you. So it's very important to first concentrate on who you are. Get who you are ready in order that you can do all the hows, the whats, and the whens. What's different also in this book is it teaches you that there's parts of us that will lead us to greatness, and then the same parts can sometimes, they have this polarity that will lead us to in our gaps, which get us stuck. And if we're not mindful and if we're not aware of it, we can find ourselves saying, why am I not as successful as I want to be? Why can't I be like she has a business that's really great. I want what she has. Because within us, we have these gaps and they can cost us in our greatness, but we have to learn to leverage them.
I love that. So what you're saying is, really knowing who you are. It's like that famous quote from the Greeks, know thyself, be thyself, love thyself, and really knowing, what goes back to knowing what your strengths are, because if you're trying to be someone that you're not, then you're not going to be, accomplishing, your vision and your mission and your life purpose. So I'm kind of curious, who are some of the most inspiring leaders that you admire of all times?
So there are many leaders that I admire, But the book opens up with a woman that's 4'11", quiet, but she's a gentle warrior. In my book, I call her the rebel. The rebel because she changed the way Girl Scouts of America is today. Her name is Frances Hesselbein. Frances Hesselbein grew up and she only had a son. She didn't have any daughters. And so when they came to her and said, could you be our new leader at the Girl Scouts of America? And she said, me? I have a son. I don't know anything about girls. And they said, we want you. And the reason she's a rebel is because she saw an opportunity. She was passionate about the cause. She brought her confidence and her competence, and she changed and impacted the world. Today, Girl Scouts of America is known for that every single girl can find their diversity, their message inside Girls of America. It never used to be that way. Before she came along, it was a very different Girl Scouts of America. But this little short woman with confidence and competence changed a whole industry for us that we take for granted.
I love that. It's such a great story. And I think we learn the most out of, hearing those inspiring stories. Like, wait a minute, it takes one person, one message, one mission to create transformation in the world and be a leader, especially with women today as leaders. Like, what's your philosophy, your outlook on women as leaders, women in business? Like, how do you find it's changed over, the span of time as far as when you've been involved in leadership and training?
So the biggest mistake, and I've been in this business for a long time, the biggest mistake is when I bump into women that want to act like men. The truth is that we must celebrate who we are. We think a certain way, we look a certain way, we are a certain way, and the more we celebrate that, the more successful we will be. I'll never forget, I sat on a panel where, as you can tell, I've got blonde hair, I dress in black, I look a certain way, and people were saying, don't have long hair, don't wear too much makeup, you shouldn't draw attention to yourself. And I'm about girl power, woman power. Be who you are. And the biggest mistake we can be is we think what we should be and then start to act that way. I think we need, again, going back to who? Who are you? Own it, take responsibility for it, and stand in your greatness.
I love that. I think that is just such a valuable piece of information. So I really want to get the women that are listening to this now is just really being yourself, being authentic and finding your own style that works for you and not trying to conform. Oh, you should be doing that. I remember years ago, I was speaking at a convention in Las Vegas and I had someone, it was actually a client that got me the speaking opportunity. And she said, you know what? You really shouldn't dress the way that you're dressing. You really should dress down. And I was horrified because I thought, this is who I am. I've actually worked very hard with my health and fitness. And, I had a challenge with my weight and I did not subordinate to the voices, the outer voices of, what they were telling me. So do you find when you're working with women that they're going through the same challenges as well?
It's very interesting, and I hope I don't offend anyone. I find that the women who know that they are don't succumb to what other people tell them. They own their power, and they're very successful. It's the women that give in to what I call in my book, and this is the gap. Let's say you're out there, you need to be the rebel, right? To be confident, to be competent. But inside you have this gap or feeling like an imposter and having self-doubt in yourself. All of a sudden, when someone says to you, you need to dress a certain way, you need to sound a certain way, and if you have self-doubt already, all of a sudden you're going to say, oh, what do I need to change? Okay, I need to change because I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I don't belong here. And so I always say, don't let the imposter get the best of you. Own the rebel that is within you and don't change just because you have self-doubt.
I love that. And that is so true about owning your power. I was working with a client and she was very successful, but yet she kept questioning herself and she would compare herself to other people. Should I really be doing this? And I'm like, listen, if you're going to be a leader, you have to own who you are. And those people are a mirror for you to really own your power, because if you're not, someone or something will challenge you and get in your own way to bring you back to balance.
Absolutely. And one of the symptoms of the imposter syndrome is that we're always comparing ourselves to others. And when you do that, you take away the attention from yourself. If you're always looking over your shoulder or you're always looking ahead at what others are doing, you can't focus on who you are. And that's a symptom of feeling insecure, of having self-doubt, and having the imposter syndrome.
You know, that's true. Let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know a lot of women out there that really want to create more influence in their business, in their life, and they are comparing themselves. I mean, now more than ever with technology, we are connected, and it's hard to separate, you know, yourself from someone else if you're not feeling 100% in your own power. So what would you say to women that are listening to this right now that are comparing themselves to other women? Oh, they have more of that. They're better than that. So what are some of the tools and strategies that you can offer women?
So I have a ritual that I do every evening because I'm human, and sometimes I have the imposter syndrome because research shows that high achieving individuals, 99.1 of us have it. So I'm not excluded. So I came up with a ritual that really helps me with the imposter when I have self-doubt. And the thing is I do it every day because we all have a list of negative messages in our head that are pages and pages long, right? But how many pages do you have of positive messages about yourself? Maybe a page compared to the hundreds of pages. This is wrong with me. This is wrong with me. So this ritual really helps me combat this or leverage the imposter syndrome. And it works like this. It has two parts. The first part is at the end of the evening, I think about, Lolly, what did you do well today? Who did you make an impact with? Who did you serve? What did you do that excelled? And I think about the things that I did well because I'm planting the seeds and the memory to counterbalance all the things that I'm not so great at, right? So when I do that, it becomes part of the list. It becomes part of the positive talk. But that's not enough because that in itself is good, but it doesn't complete the imposter syndrome. And the second part of that is I ask myself, if you did something well today, what can you do tomorrow that you were better than today? And what that does is it keeps me focused on measuring myself only with myself. I don't care what she did. I don't care what he did. I'm only going to count the measurement of myself. Better tomorrow than I was today. And this little ritual has really helped me. And I've been doing it for years and years. And it really helps because I'm not looking over my shoulder. I'm only asking myself tomorrow, what could I do that's better? How can I take myself to the next level? And this really helps those who suffer from the imposter syndrome.
I love that, Lolly. That is such an easy strategy that you can do that will help you, like you said, like balancing out your mind. So you're not beating yourself up, because I know a lot of leaders, women will do that. And there's actually some benefit to it because it does help you to stretch and grow as a person. And gosh, this has been so amazing because I know women are going to get a lot out of this interview. So before we go today, can you share with our listeners about your new book, where they can get it, and anything else that you want to share?
So the new book is out right now and it's available for pre-sale, and it's called The Leadership Gap: What Gets Between You and Your Greatness. And if you order now, you get bonuses and all kinds of wonderful gifts. Even the assessment alone, which is usually $97, you get it for free if you pre-order a book. And you can find everything at theleadershipgapbook.com. And so I hope everybody who, if you think this gave you something to work with and how to leverage your weaknesses, go out and get the book, because there's 7 other archetypes that are leading you to gaps. And we don't want that because we want to lead from our greatness. And usually you can find me at lollydaskal.com.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And I encourage all of our listeners and people that are viewing this today is to click on the link in the show notes. You'll be able to get her book, find out more about Lolly. And I'm all about a woman, being a woman, empowering myself, reading, and you want to take notice from women like Lolly that are influencers and leaders, because that's how you rise to the top. That is the formula for living what I call La Dolce Vita. So thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care. So if you found this show to be fabulous, please share share with your fabulous friends, rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. And I'll make sure I take a beatbox lesson, right? Or give my little chihuahua a bone. That's me. Fabulous.